Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a fascinating source called the architecture of departure. I mean, think about it. Right now, at this very second, your body is literally the most complex machine in the known universe, just working in absolute perfect harmony. But what actually happens the exact moment that machine just stops?
It really makes you wonder, right? What exactly goes down in your body during that very first second after death?
I know, it sounds a bit macabre to talk about, but honestly, diving into this source material gave me a completely different understanding of what life actually means, of what we are, and of this massive mystery that science alone has never really been able to fully solve.
So let's start a biological countdown. Let's start right at 0.
Now, clinically speaking, death is medically defined as the simultaneous stopping of three things. Your heart stops pumping, your lungs stop breathing, and your brain stops all electrical activity. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, actually, what happens inside the body at that precise moment is way more dramatic than that dry, clinical definition makes it sound.
Get this, a 2023 study in the journal PNS actually recorded this for the first time. They discovered this totally unexpected, intense surge of electrical activity right at the moment of death. And it happened specifically in the posterior cortex. That is the part of your brain tied directly to consciousness, perception, and visual memory. Scientists are honestly still baffled by this. Is it just a random mechanical electrical discharge? Or is something else entirely going on there? At that exact same time, down at the cellular level, the sodium and potassium pumps that keep your cells in this incredibly delicate balance, they just shut down. Suddenly, calcium ions flood into your muscle cells. The mitochondria, those tiny little power stations producing all your energy, they begin to collapse. And ATP, which is basically the energy currency of every single cell in your body, starts completely depleting within minutes.
But here's the thing that really surprised me. The body doesn't just surrender all at once.
Seriously, skin cells can remain alive for several hours. Bone cells, they can actually survive for days. Even the kidneys and liver retain enough viability to be transplanted for hours after death. So we're not just this one single switch that suddenly gets flipped to off. We are, in reality, a whole society of living colonies.
But then, this kicks off a phase known to science as autolysis. The enzymes that used to be safely locked inside your cells to, say, digest your food, are suddenly released, and they actually start digesting the cells themselves from the inside out. The body essentially begins to dismantle itself. What once carried life now starts returning its atoms back to the earth, the soil, the water, and the air.
It's exactly like the source material points out. Chemistry doesn't know how to stop. It only knows how to transform.
So as you move from hour 0 to hour 1, heat begins escaping from the body at a steady rate. That's a process known as algor mortis, where the body drops about 1 degree Celsius per hour until it basically matches the room temperature. Then, after several hours, as those ATP energy reserves we talked about run out entirely, the muscles that once responded to those precise nervous system commands begin to stiffen. You've probably heard of this one. It's called rigor mortis.
So, scientifically speaking anyway, your body after death is never actually still. It's in constant motion, moving toward dissolution, toward disintegration, and toward return.
But all of this incredible science still leaves us with a massive question that biology hasn't answered. And really, it can't answer it. Who was living inside this body?
You see, this is right where science reaches its absolute limits. And, as the source material suggests, this is where something far deeper begins.
Our source material then shifts gears to explore this whole concept through the lens of Islamic theology. And in this worldview, death isn't an ending at all. It's viewed as a carefully designed transition from one existence to another. The text outlines that a human being is made of two distinct, totally inseparable elements: the physical body, which is temporary and just borrowed from the earth, and the soul, which is something else entirely and belongs to God. According to the teachings outlined in the text, the soul doesn't just vanish into nothing the moment the heart stops. It's actually received. It's taken with intention and precision by the angel of death, whose role isn't to destroy but to safely escort the soul into whatever comes next. Death in this specific worldview is absolutely not a malfunction or some random biological failure. It's an appointment, one that was set before the world itself even began.
And, according to this perspective, that appointment, that is where the real journey actually starts.
Which actually brings us right back to that brainwave study we talked about earlier. It really makes some researchers and theologians pause and ask,
Are those near-death experiences, the bright lights, the rushing memories, that final electrical wave in the posterior cortex, are they just chemical activity? Or does the soul have a genuine moment of farewell, where it perceives something the living eye just cannot see in ordinary waking life? The source beautifully concludes that while science holds no final answer here, faith requires none. What the text confidently asserts is this: the body returns to the dust from which it was taken, and the soul returns to God who gave it.
But even stepping back into the science of it all for a second, there's something truly astonishing about this harmony. Science reveals that the very atoms making up your body right now, they were literally forged inside exploding stars millions of years ago. And years after you're gone, those same atoms will become part of a tree or soil or maybe another creature entirely. Matter doesn't perish. It just transforms.
And the soul? Well, in the Islamic account we explored, it doesn't perish either. It moves on. Perhaps death is not the opposite of life in the way we usually imagine it to be. Perhaps it is, in its deepest, truest meaning, simply life's continuation in a totally different form. The one thing that is absolutely certain, though, is that you are alive right now. Your heart is pumping, your brain is working, and you are sitting here spending time with this explainer. And this moment, this exact one, will literally never come again. So, perhaps the real question we should be asking isn't just what happens to your body after death. Perhaps the real question is, what are you doing with your body before it?